Tyler with TJX Survival. This is the gear review portion of our Urban Bugout, so stay tuned. Alright, so what I did in creating my kit was I tried to think in layers. I have my base layer that's on my body. That's going to keep stuff like my communication, a knife, my wallet, simple type of things in my jacket. Then, if I need to move really, really fast, I can carry this chest rig that I like to use. You can use a fanny pack, you can use a shoulder bag, whatever you want. This is my man purse, okay? In that I have the basics, the fire, water, shelter, food, and security, plus communication, and ways to power communication, and ways to replenish all of those things. So with this, my fire kit is in this is my absolute smallest EDC kit. All the fire and the communication and stuff I have in this one little bag. I've done a thorough review on this on my channel. Go check out the video for the in-depth content review. But briskly, I have the lighters, fire striker, another version for fire, a sharpening stone. I have water tablets and a reflective mirror, and then petroleum jelly and cotton. And this is my very base level. I can stick this in my cargo pocket, do what I want with it as I travel.
Alright, so we're talking about gear that we use on our Urban Bugout trip here. I'm going to talk about a small bugout bag and a larger bugout bag, depending on your situation. Now you got to remember that for you, it might not be as simple as a whole bunch of bushcraft stuff in a backpack, because if you have all of that stuff and you don't know how to use it, it might not do any good for you. And so Tyler has all this great knowledge about bushcraft skills and all of those little EDC kits and things like that. But just because you don't have those things, you can't afford them, or you don't have the knowledge to use them, that doesn't put you out of the game for preparing for a situation like this. You just got to cover the basics. So you start with what you wear, and make sure that if you have to wear office clothes, that you keep an extra set of clothes in your car. For summer time, weather dependent time, you might want to carry a smaller bag. It's going to be better when you're walking 20 miles, especially if you haven't done that. We say ounces are pounds and pounds are pain. So you want to make sure that in the summertime you might want this smaller bag, and you still want to cover that water. So you have I have a camelback type insert in this bag that I use for my water. It has a filter system. We showed you that in the other parts of the video, and that's great. If I only have a couple miles to get home, that's perfect. I don't need to boil water. I don't need to do all those other things. I can just filter some hose water and I'm good to go. I have my poncho for shelter. I have on my knife kit, I have a little striker for fire, and I also keep a lighter in my bugout bag. In all of my bugout bags, whether it's a small one or a large one. I have a Zippo lighter here. Zippos, you have to remember though, the fuel inside of them evaporates out, so you have to maintain those. Whereas a Bic lighter or something like that, you can just shove in and you never have to maintain it ever again.
Okay. Then the next level I have in here is my GPS. I have bags to contain water and water purification tablets so that I can, in a pinch, use that instead of my canteen system if it's all that I have. I like bushcraft a lot. Don't know if you can tell that. So I have my Altoids can with cotton inside of it so that I can make char cloth. Again, I've got a signal mirror right there. Drop it. And one little thing that I like to do with my signal mirror is I keep it in these spare old eyeglass cases, because I can use them to clean and they keep the mirror from breaking inside of my kit. This is my Hill People gear bag. I forgot to mention that up front, but this is the Hill People gear bag. I will leave a link on where you can find the specifics of that bag. Okay, so this Hill People gear bag also attaches to my Grey Ghost apparition bag. It has an attachment right here that I can just hang it from the front, and it can either hang by its straps, or you can get some that stretchy 550 cord to the bottom to keep it from flapping. However you want to rig it, it's very modular, which is very nice.
That in there, I have some fire cord in here and a signal mirror. And I also like to carry a multi-tool. I love multi-tools. I carry them when I go fishing. They're great tools. This one has knives on the outside that you can use one-handed. I really like that feature because if I'm doing something with this hand, especially if I'm fishing or hunting or something like that, I can use this multi-tool one-handed knife to get whatever else I need done. I also like just the added advantage of having different tools inside of this, especially in an urban environment. This will come in handy. You have pliers and screwdrivers in case you need to take something down or put something up. Now I'm going to talk a little bit about more gear that I use for clothes and things like that. I'm a girl, so I get colder faster, and it's a physiological thing, actually. People have done studies on this, and it's because women are designed physiologically to protect the womb, to protect a child in case of pregnancy. So even when you're not pregnant, though, your body does you have physiological effects to your environment different than a man. And so what happens is that 10 degrees sooner, women, the blood in your system starts taking from your peripheries and sending blood, that warm blood, to your organs. Okay, and it does that because that's how the body protects itself in a cold situation from going into hypothermia and stuff like that. Well, that happens 10 degrees sooner for a woman than a man. And so you got to think of that, those types of things, if you're a woman or if you're traveling with a woman. Guys out there, this stuff applies to you too, especially if you're into the prepper stuff and your wife isn't. You got to think if you're going to travel with her or your girlfriend or your significant other, what she might need, and make sure that you prepare for that. So I always carry extra layers. I usually have a jacket that's windproof, waterproof. I usually carry something like this to go underneath. Wool is a great material. The other thing you need to consider that is if it's in winter time, this poncho liner and poncho might not keep you warm enough. I know in this state where we live, we get really bad winters, it gets really cold, and I would not survive the night with that poncho and that poncho liner. So what I do is I use a military surplus sleeping bag system. It's cheap. Cheaper than most of the high-end gear you're going to get. It's lightweight, and it comes in 3 parts. I only have 2 here. This is the intermediate bag. It's very warm. It'll go down to 20 degrees, which is great, right? And if it's colder outside, you might be really, really cold, but you won't freeze to death. So that's good. You'll be cold, but not in a world of hurt. And then every one of these sleeping bag systems comes with a bivy sack. And this bivy sack is waterproof, and you put your sleeping bag in there. It gives you an extra layer of waterproof and an extra layer of insulation. It comes all the way up to the top. You can snap it around your head, and that's great. And then the third piece to this system is a lighter sleeping bag that you can use in the summertime. And what I do is I take them out of the military bag that they come in, and I put them in this Kelty bag because it doesn't look as military, as tactical. And then you can strap that to the side of a backpack or onto the bottom of a backpack as well. I always carry knives. This trip we were carrying the Bark River knives. This is the Canadian Camp 2. This is my chopping knife. Like Tyler said, you always want a chopping knife while you're out and about, even in urban environments, because there's always trees around to get firewood, build your shelters and things like this. This is a great knife, has a good weight to it, and does really well for that chopping. And then I have a smaller knife, just like that I can use for opening packages of food, making fire, things like that. Alright, over to the big bag. Now, this is a bag that I actually normally keep in my car, and I use it more as a 72-hour kit, long term, and so I have more in it. On the front here, I have what Tyler was talking about, levels. If I needed to leave in a hurry, and I didn't need my whole entire bag, this pops right off the front of this bag, and it has a med kit in it, and it has all of the things that I would need to go out. I have a water bottle with a filter in it. There's your water. I have a jet boil stove. Now Tyler has that cool little Etsy stove, but if you don't have the bushcraft skills to make that fire, make that happen, these jet boil stoves are great and they last a long time, and they all come in this tube right here, all self-contained with the fuel and the stove, and I can heat water up in 2 minutes with this jet boil stove. It's super fast. I've actually never timed it, but it's really fast.
So this bag is called the Gray Ghost Apparition Bag. I chose it because it looks from the outside like some big sports store backpack. They designed it that way on purpose, but it has a lot of tactical implementations that they designed into the characters of the backpack, which I really like. They have pockets on the waistband here so you can add stuff. I've added a drop pouch to it. It's obviously a very tactical item, but it's so valuable, I throw it down there, and it's small, you don't see it very well. This drop pouch is something that you can collect wild edibles in and put it in there. You can collect kindling, you can shoot a rabbit, whatever you want. It spreads out. Opens up and gives you the ability to carry stuff that you gather as you're walking along. And it functions like a drop pouch. For those of you that don't know, a drop pouch is the place where if you're in an urban gunfight or whatever other kind of gunfight, you're shooting, you pull your magazine out, you put it in your drop pouch, you grab your next magazine and rack it forward on your M4 or your AR-15. It gives you the ability to keep your magazines on you when you're in a foreign country. That's important because you may not have a logistical chain to replace those magazines, just like if you're in an urban environment. That's important because you may not have an ability to replace those magazines, so a drop pouch is important. This has a little side pockets on the side. I don't know why they designed them for this, but I do know they're nice. They're a good place to put gloves, a good place to put quick access items. There's a strap here on the top. You can put hiking poles. I like the idea of strapping a bivy shelter to this. There's a couple different things that you can strap to it. You can put your Nalgene bottles or whatever you want here on the side. I was carrying my binoculars. The reason why I use binoculars in a situation like this is it gives me the ability to look a far distance and decide, is that place safe before I move in, or to see what's coming at me. It gives me intelligence from a long distance. So when I talk about the observation portion of the things that you should look for in an urban environment, this is what I'm talking about. See them and don't be seen by them. Okay, it's got a couple of small pockets on top where I just put my quick access items. This is where I keep my ham radio that we talked about earlier, right there in the top. I also put my freeze-dried meals, my taco soup, and amaranth and corn chowder. Those will be for later. Set those quick access on the top. I can just grab my canteen, my emberlit stove, my food, and have fire real quick without digging into the contents of the bag. This bag also has the next level up. It has a lot of these straps on the inside. They're limited by your ability to be creative. So essentially I can wrap this around, lock it down. What I was doing is putting my binoculars like this, strapping it down, and it holds them, keeps stuff stable, which is really nice. Has a small pocket right here for small items that you can see through so you don't lose stuff inside of your bag. And all of the inside of this bag have the Velcro. So what that does is it gives me the ability to have larger items like this. I use this 2-quart canteen we saw last night for my water supply. I brought a saw. This is a Spen saw. It's EN saw. I'll leave you a link for these if you want to go find them. And this is I strap this down. This is my main chopper. I like to do any type of bushcraft or survival event with a chopper, a saw, and a small saw. A chopper, a saw, and a small blade. This is my chopper. This is my saw. And in this case, this is my small blade. I went with Bark River for this trip. This is the Bark River Bushcrafter. It's a CPM 3V, so it's almost impervious to staining, rust and stuff. And then this is the Bark River Go-Lock, which is made from A2 steel, which also it's got different characteristics. It's better for a chopper. It has a higher probability of staining, but it's still basically a super steel, so it's not gonna stain as well. And we were able to chop up a lot of the firewood and move the shelters and stuff with this last night. This is really nice for shelter building. It could be a good defensive tool, so there's a lot of reasons why it's good to carry a big and a small knife. It's got this little pocket right here that folds out the bottom. This is basically covering up the muzzle of my AR-15. And if I want to tuck it up inside and close it, if you have an AR-15 pistol, it'll fit inside of it. I have a 10.5 SBR that's licensed. I have my tax stamp and everything inside of the grip of my rifle. But with a 10.5 SBR or short-barreled rifle, this is how it fits. Nice flat platform right there. I can bring it higher if I choose to do so. I think that I could probably get the whole rifle in the inside of this pack without using that little drop pocket, but I chose not to just because I need a little more space for stuff. One other very smart thing that's added to this Grey Ghost apparition bag is the fact that it has a bag that is strapped that will cover the whole bag. And this is a waterproof bag. It's awesome that they made some spongies right here, because oftentimes either they pull out and you really have to stretch them, and sometimes they'll rip because you've added too much equipment to your bag, or they're loose and you'll drop them. But this gives me the ability to cover it up with something that is black, which is good for nighttime, so I have two types of camouflage options, and something that's waterproof. And that just goes into the pocket right here in the bottom of the backpack itself. Okay? Now obviously I'm not going to carry this thing downtown in the open, but since it is so short, I could carry it with a long jacket and covering it up and have access to whatever it is that I need really quick. One other thing that I did, I added a cap to this to protect dust and stuff from coming inside of my muzzle. Throw a condom on there, a balloon, whatever it is that you need, and that'll keep stuff from entering inside of your muzzle and fouling it up, because the last thing you need to do is squeeze a trigger on a barrel that has junk inside of it. Alright, so the last thing I'm going to cover is my power for communication. A lot of people have communication, they have their cell phone, but then the cell phone dies. Or you have a ham radio, and it's very power intensive, and then the ham radio dies. So what I've done is built this little Goal Zero kit. It has the charger for my ham radio, it has chargers so that I can gain electricity from batteries that are in cars, and it has a battery bank. This battery bank is the Goal Zero Sherpa 50. They have a 50 and a 100. The only difference is the battery quality and the battery size. And this is the solar panel itself. So one thing that I can do while I'm walking, should I choose, is just strap that to the outside of my backpack with 550 cord or little carabiners. And as I'm walking, it's absorbing sunlight, if you will, and transferring that into electricity through this cable that goes right into this Goal Zero battery pack. Then I can stick my phone or my ham radio or whatever I want in here, plug it right into the USB port, and charge it at nighttime or charge it while I'm walking. It gives me the ability to have a storage base of sunlight, so that when there isn't sunlight I can still recharge stuff. And because it has multiple pathways of wires, I can recharge the battery and my cell phone or ham radio at the same time. This is a very, very valuable added tool because communication is imperative. It can keep you out of places that you don't want to go, or it can get you to places that you do want to go.
I actually have an entrenching tool. It's great for digging out fire pits and stuff like that. It's also great as a security device in case you need it. It's got a sharp edge on the one side of the shovel, And it's just a simple shovel with a saw inside, which is great.
For whacking zombies.
For whacking zombies! I have a mess kit with a fork and stuff inside of there. I have freeze-dried food. I have freeze-dried food. And then I think what's really important is I have an extra set of clothes in here. In case my clothes get wet, that's very important. And I have wool socks, an extra pair of wool socks. And that's important to keep my feet warm and to keep my feet dry. When I was in the military, even in like boot camp and situations where you're putting on wet socks all the time and your feet are in your shoes for long periods of time while you're hiking and doing things like that, the bottoms of your feet will actually start kind of like peeling off because of that moisture and because of that movement in your shoes. And when you're not used to that, traveling long distances, that can eat you up, and it's painful, one, and two, it's just not very nice at all when you're in a survival situation to have to deal with a foot situation as well. So that's very important. The other things I want to cover that Tyler didn't is that I'm a girl, and so I also like hygiene products. So I have some dry shampoo here, which for guys, that's like you don't even need it, right? Because they have short hair, they don't even have to worry about it. But I got the long, mane here, and if I go a couple days without showering, it's nasty. It becomes like a rat's nest. And so for women out there, I like dry shampoo is good. I have some cleaning wipes, here. I can use them on my face, whatever. We like to look pretty even when we're out in the bush. So I think those things are important for women. So you got to think about hygiene. So bring some tampons or some pads with you. They're not only great because you don't want to be out in the wilderness dealing with that situation, not having anything on you, but for guys out there too, tampons and pads can work great in a medical situation too. That's what they're designed for, is sucking up blood.
Alright, this has been my gear review, the equipment that I would use on an urban get-home type of incident. If this has been valuable to you, hit the subscribe button, leave your comments in the bottom, and thanks for watching TJack Survival.